Hello, lords and ladies. Today we're going to talk about the early Middle Ages in Western Europe after the fall of Rome, see what things are going to look like there as opposed to what we started with, which is the Byzantine Empire, the eastern half after the fall. Today we have a couple of different objectives. We're going to want you to be able to identify Charlemagne's achievements and what it was that he did, and we're going to want you to be able to on a map show the extent of Charlemagne's empire, so be able to describe where it extended from into in geographic terms. So you're going to have a moment or two to write these down. Okay, so much different than what we see in the eastern half. The western half is in absolute political, economic, and social decline. What you're going to see is that many different tribes are fighting over control of the region, and what you're going to see is that the Franks are going to be the ones who win and who are able to bring some semblance of order. Now, Europe is in chaos, so there is crime, lawlessness, disorder, absolutely no safety or security whatsoever for the people living there. And all of these different tribes came from Central Asia, came from Europe itself, and started to rise up and try to get control over the entire region. The area that we're going to look at was called Gaul, and the people that lived there were the Franks, which, if you think about it today, what country that is, which country it would be France. So we're looking at the area that today we call France. Okay, the Franks are the ones who are going to emerge as the most powerful, and what we're going to see is that just about all of the Frankish leaders that we talk about came from one strong, powerful family called the Carolingians. And the Carolingians are a dynasty of the Frankish Empire. They're going to be the first family to actually bring any kind of semblance of order to the region during this time.
Master suite really starts out here on the roof that is next to us. So this master bedroom, but that's okay because the homeowners have got this closet. And Aaron, you go help us design this closet in the past. Good to see you again. Thanks for having me back. But in this case, we actually started you off with a design element, which is a bureau. The homeowners probably wanted to tuck into. It's going to flip right into that spot. Okay, so what else do you have for us? So the beautiful thing about this closet is we have a lot of finishes to choose from. They're brand new, lots of texture. So the homeowner chose three.
If you need more time, you can pause it. We're going to move on to talk about the strong Carolingian leaders that we want to focus on. The first one is Charles Martel. He is a very famous political advisor, but he's also a leader in battle. His biggest contribution to the Frankish Empire is the fact that he stops the Muslims advancing into Europe. He does that at the Battle of Tours in 732, and if it weren't for him, you might have seen a lot more Muslim religions come into Europe and kind of take over instead of the Catholic Christian religion. So it could have changed the face of Europe as we know it. And when he defeats these Muslims at the Battle of Tours in 732, he changes the course of history and keeps it on the path of Christianity, which might not have happened without him. So he is the grandfather and the grandfather of the most famous man that we'll focus on today. But he is the father of the next man that we'll look at. So we're going to see a picture of Charles Martel shortly that shows you what he looked like in the time when he was famously alive. Okay, so there's Charles Martel in an artist's rendering of him. And when he becomes the leader, you have a strong, powerful Frankish beginning. The next person that we're going to look at is the son of Charles Martel. His name is Pippin III. He's the second strong Carolingian leader we'll look at. He becomes king in 751, this are again AD times. Like his father, he is a skilled military leader and able to conquer many people that he goes after, and as a result of these conquests, he actually ends up expanding the Frankish territory. So Pippin becomes king, and this is interesting because his father never was able to do it. So this is where you start to see these men legitimized in terms of being leaders of the Frankish Empire. So in doing this, we come to look at how this starts the Carolingian dynasty, and that's going to be done for Pippin. So let's take a look at Pippin and see what he looked like. This is an artist rendering of Pippin III. It's going to be Pippin's son that will be the one to really prove the Frankish Empire. Pippin's son is Charlemagne. Charlemagne itself, that term means Charles the Great. Charlemagne is going to prove to be the best leader of this family that we've seen. Many historians consider him to be one of the most important leaders in all of European history. The majority of what Charlemagne is able to accomplish is due to the fact that he is tremendously skilled in military skills and tactics. Each year he would get an army together and go against any number of his foes, and when he defeated people, he would take their land into his empire and make an alliance with the local rulers. This is how he's able to increase the size of the kingdom. Now, if he had not been such a wise military leader and a skilled warrior and commander, he wouldn't have won all these countless victories that he wins. But beyond his military prowess, he's not just a strong general, he's also a strong leader. So we're going to take a look at Charlemagne and see how he appeared to the people of his time. Okay, in an artist rendering, there's Charlemagne. Very strong, very determined looking man. And what you're going to see is that he is going to rule for a time period. So let's take a look at how long he's in power. We're talking about AD 768 to AD 814. And in the AD 800s, he builds that empire that goes all the way across what today we call France, what we call Germany today, and what we call Italy. So Charlemagne is very important in building this empire. And again, he does this through his military conquests. If he weren't such a skilled warrior, he wouldn't have been able to do these things. So his father, passing him the kingdom, came to really make a difference for the Frankish Empire in this time period. So if not for Charlemagne coming to power, the Franks might not have made as much history as they did or ended up doing because of Charlemagne. Now, Charlemagne's military prowess did not go unnoticed. In fact, what you're going to see is that the person who's really going to notice that he's very skilled in this area is going to be the Pope, ironically. And a Pope is typically someone you associate with peace and harmony and kindness and those types of things. But what we're going to see is that in this time frame, the Pope is going to need his help. So Charlemagne, again, rises through his success in the military. By using his military, he strengthens and expands the kingdom all the way into what we're going to look at as modern-day France, Italy, Germany, which encompasses a large proportion of Western Europe. So you're starting to see a new empire emerge where Rome had fallen. That's not to say that things are going wonderfully. Okay, there's still going to be some chaos, there's still going to be disorder, but this is the closest thing to an ordered kingdom that we're going to see for the next several hundred years. So Charlemagne rising to power is really going to change the face of Europe and European history. Now what we want to look at next on the map is his kingdom itself and what it grew to in size. So we're going to look at that relatively quickly. When you see what his kingdom looked like, you see through his conquests, that's in blue. So the Frankish kingdom that he inherited from his father encompassed a lot of that. And then you'll see that his conquests brought them further and further into Spain, into Italy, Germany. Okay. Now, as we said, the Pope knew that Charlemagne was a good leader, and in 774, Pope Leo III is actually being attacked by the Lombards, and the Lombards are a pretty brutal tribe. They're one of the ones I had talked to you guys about and told you that they actually would drink the blood of their victims out of the skulls of their victims, so they were a pretty brutal tribe. And when they attacked the Papal States, meaning the states controlled by the Pope, which is in central Italy, as we know, because of Rome, Charlemagne answers the Pope's call for help. When the Franks go into Italy and defeat the Lombards, that's what you're going to see. He's going to take even more. So Charlemagne becomes the king of the Lombards as well as the Franks, and the Pope is very, very grateful to Charlemagne for all the assistance that he has given him. So this is something that makes Charlemagne even more powerful than he already was. So by helping out the Pope here, think about what power that's going to give him and what that's going to get him from the Pope. So let's take a look at what's going to happen with Charlemagne and the Frankish Empire. The Pope owes Charlemagne a debt of gratitude, and so in order to kind of pay back Charlemagne and to recognize him as the hero that he is, the Pope crowned Charlemagne Emperor of the Romans. Now, what this does is two things. The first, it suggests to the people that Charlemagne and his rule, his leadership, has the backing of the Lord, the God. And what we're going to see during this time is that what's really going to link the people together and bring any sort of sense of order to them is the church itself. So having God's backing for the ruler is very significant and something that we don't necessarily conceptualize in the same way that was done in this time period. So the people of this time, this was a big deal. This made them have faith in the leader, and more importantly, it made them not want to question the leader. So in the Pope doing this, that's one of the major effects that this has, and this will continue to affect European history all the way up through into the Renaissance and the Enlightenment. This is the artist rendering of Charlemagne being crowned by the Pope as the new king of the new emperor of the new empire. And what this title also suggests to everyone is that Charlemagne has restored the glory that was Rome. This is important on two levels. First, it says that he is now the leader of this very, very strong empire. And it kind of gives people that restored vision of the order and sense of unity that they had prior to this. The other thing it allows him to do is he starts to spread Christianity. So one of Charlemagne's biggest legacies is the fact that he helps to spread Christianity across Western Europe and beyond eventually, as we're going to see with the Middle Ages, that they tend to try to spread this religion. So Charlemagne is going to help aid the spread of Christianity. He's going to restore the glory that was Rome in the form of a new Frankish empire and bring unity and some semblance of peace to Western Europe for a short period of time that will enable the people and set the groundwork for what's going to happen in the next couple hundred years. So he's a pretty significant empire. Okay, so Charlemagne's rule during this time was difficult because he had a large empire that was hard to rule, and he established a nice new capital at Aachen, which is where he built a magnificent cathedral that I'll show you when the picture comes up. His empire being so large, though, he decides to appoint counts who will rule over portions of the empire. And so these counts are people that he trusts and that he knows will do what they need him to do. He also, though, in order to really keep an eye on them, puts inspectors in place who are also going to monitor the counts that are taking control over parts of the empire. So This, again, is a way of trying to maintain a large empire, which is very difficult to do. So Charlemagne shows skill not just on the battlefield, but also in terms of how he's going to rule his empire. So this makes him a very formidable and important ruler in Western European history. This is the cathedral that he built at Aachen. Okay, it's one of his many significant achievements. It is an homage to him actually helping to preserve the religion. In terms of Charlemagne's other achievements, he is very interested in promoting education, so he does have scholars and monks set up the schools. And what this does is it helps preserve the ancient texts, at least in some degree, from the Greek and the Roman. These schools, keep in mind, are not for everyone. Okay, it's not like public education today where everyone goes to school. He builds these schools, and these schools are going to be attended predominantly by the wealthy at this point. So the wealthy in the church are the people who will be going there. But he is advancing the cause of education. In terms of political achievements, the biggest thing he achieved was unifying Europe for the first time since the fall of the Roman Empire. Europe is absolutely in a shambles, and this is the first time that we're going to see it be united again in any way, shape, or form. So that is important to the future of Western Europe. He also sets the stage for what's going to come next, which is feudalism, and we'll look at that in coming days. In terms of religion, we know that he spread the religion of Christianity among those that he conquered, and that allows the Christian, at this time Roman Catholic Church, to grow all the way across the continents. In terms of law, he developed a written law code similar to what we saw in Rome. If you can remember, the importance of a written law code is that it makes for a stable society, one in which anyone who is caught committing crimes will be dealt with the same way, and it sets up a uniform system for dealing with criminals and keeping order in the society. So law is a very important development and achievement for any leader to make in order to keep their society stable and orderly, and to keep peace as much as possible within the society itself. So just Charlemagne's achievements are very impressive considering the time and the amount of conquest that he achieved in the same period. So he proved himself both on the battlefield, but also as an able and adept politician. Okay, what we're going to see is that no man lives forever, as we all well know. And after Charlemagne dies in 814, there is an absolute chaotic struggle for power among his grandsons. So in 843, you're going to see that struggle for power will end with a division of the empire into three portions. What this does is it separates the empire to a point and starts to weaken it and make it start to crumble. And what you're going to see is that kings become more regional, and in these smaller, littler kingdoms, they grow powerful. So the division of the empire really ends the political unity of Europe, Western Europe, for the next several hundred years. So the only time in this time frame that Europe is unified at all in the aftermath of the fall of Rome is under Charlemagne. And what we're going to see is that it devolves into a feudalistic society. So the empire starts to crumble. His grandsons do not prove to be as good of leaders as Charlemagne himself was. So take a look at how the kingdom was divided. You had the kingdom of Charles the Bald, grandson 1. You had the kingdom of Louis the German, and you had the kingdom of Lothair. And this is what you're going to see is going to result from the fall of Charlemagne.